I know who it is. The gold medal ceremony following the U.S. women's victory over the Soviet Union in basketball.
Network Television proudly presents the 1986 Goodwill Games from Moscow and from Madrid.
Along with Mary Ann Laughlin, I welcome you to day 6 in our coverage of the Goodwill Games. Well, it was a very big day in women's basketball today at the Druzhba Sports Arena here in the city of Moscow. They were playing for the gold, the U.S. and the USSR. Fran Harris, number 10 on the break. To team captain Cami Etheridge, and the United States built an early lead. In comes 34-year-old, 7 foot tall, Uliana Semyonova. However, she could not get the ball past and Donovan blocked the shot, out-rebounded Semyonova. Now the fast break to Teresa Edwards. Katrina McLean was a major contributor. 9 rebounds to tie Ann Donovan with rebounds. On the break again, Cheryl Miller to Etheridge, back to Miller, and the fast break is worked to perfection for the U.S. women. They used speed, they used quickness to defeat the Soviet women. Cheryl Miller again rebounding. She led all rebounders with 10. Miller driving all the way coast to coast. And you could tell that it was going to be history. Late in the game, the United States led by as many as 24 and ended up winning the game by a score of 83-60 to defeat the Soviet Union. And as you can see in the looks of the young women, there was happiness abounding. Olga Beryakina, the captain of the Soviet team, and Cami Etheridge, the captain of the United States team, at the gold medal ceremonies at Druzhba. And it was indeed a happy day for U.S. women basketball. They have to come back to the Soviet Union in the World Championships in August, though, and that rematch will also be a sight to behold. Mary Ann Laughlin, exciting day, but we have a lot of action on the primetime show tonight, too.
Tough to beat that one, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Not only are we going to be continuing to follow the events of the day, we will also cover the stories for you as well. We'll be seeing the last day of competition of rhythmic gymnastics, more action from the fastest cycling track in the world, the Olympic Velodrome, and the U.S. water polo team in the pool against Greece. Also, we'll be previewing boxing, which begins tomorrow. We'll meet some of the replacement boxers from the U.S. who were hastily called from their homes to compete in these Goodwill Games. Wrestlers also take to the mats tomorrow for the first time in the Goodwill Games. We'll have a preview look at that as well. So we have an action-packed night once again.
And we have basketball once again. The United States men's team competing for the Basketball World Championship in Spain. They're playing in Malaga. And tonight in the United States subgroup there, Group C, they're playing the only other undefeated team Italy. A lot of people believe that Italy has a chance to defeat the United States. Group of young collegians who are in the World Championship squad. We'll see in a few minutes as we'll bring you the coverage of the USA versus Italy in men's basketball. And we also have in our studio the entire women's basketball team with Nick Charles and Rick Barry. We'll bring you that interview in the men's basketball game from Spain right after this. The United States not only upset the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was a slight favorite in the U.S. women's basketball championship game for the gold medal of the Goodwill Games, but they did it in grand style, winning by 23 points, getting an early lead, and never looking back. We were so happy with them, we thought we'd invite the entire team to the studio. Nick Charles and Rick Barry interviewed them.
America, you are looking at a world success story in sports. This is the U.S. women's basketball team successfully winning the gold medal, beating the Soviets, the worst drubbing the Soviet Union has ever experienced, by 23 points to win the gold medal at the Goodwill Games. Rick, you were there. Take it away.
Well, Nick, I'll tell you, it really was an experience for me to watch these young women from back in training camp. Saw them in Hilton Head, Carolina, and to watch them develop and mature and come away with the gold. People had asked me a lot. It's been a joy for me to, what would happen in the game? I said, well, I thought they would win, but what they did was truly remarkable. And one of the culprits here was the giant killer sitting next to me over here, Ann Donovan, one of the co-captains. And Ann, you did such a wonderful job on Semyonova. You took her out of the game, the 7'2" center. What was your game plan? I mean, how did you manage to do it?
We had a good game plan. I think our coaches scouted them very well and told us exactly what we needed to do to stop her. And so we worked hard on it.
Okay, now you knew what she was going to do as far as her play. She was all left hand. You seemed to be able to take away her game and keep her away from the basket, yet she only has about, well, maybe 200 pounds on you.
At least 200, easy. But yeah, our game plan was to take away her left hand and keep her away from the boards. Those are her two strengths.
Was this one of the big highlights of your career, playing against her and doing that job?
Definitely so. That and the block shot.
Let me ask a question.
Yeah, but she got you back. She hit you on that way down the court after that.
She did, didn't she?
That.
She did. That's frustration. Let me ask you, ladies, did anybody think it would be this easy?
Cheryl, what about you? I mean, you were out there playing great basketball. You didn't shoot particularly well, and we talked about that. You know, all of us shooters, we like to put it in the basket, but the thing is, a lot of players get down when they don't shoot, but you played defense, you rebound, you had double figures in rebounding. This has got to be one of the big, I would think, experiences for you and one of the joys. You've played in a lot of competitions against the Soviets.
Well, first of all, I have to say, when you're offensively not doing very well, you have to pick up defensively, and Coach Stanley kind of talked to me and gave me a quick pep talk, if you want to say that, and just basically stayed on me defensively. But I have to say that I have to give it to all my teammates. We came out to play tonight, and we expected to win, but not as, as big as we did.
Rick, let me go down in front. Let me ask you, Ms. Cooper, did you think, can you paint the picture of the atmosphere? Did you expect so many Americans out there tonight? I mean, you beat them on their floor. This is the Soviet Union.
Well, I must admit, I didn't expect a lot of Americans there, but the Americans that were going to be there, I knew they would be loud and that they would be very supportive. And they were everything we expected. You know, we love them. We love the CBs. They're a great bunch of people, and they just came there and they pumped us up. Really, they pumped us up a lot for the game.
Nick, this lady right here sitting next to her with this strange hat on, Teresa Edwards, I think has been probably the big surprise of the tournament to a lot of people. A lot of people probably haven't heard about you, Teresa, but not only did you do a great job with your defense, you led the whole tournament in steals. You came up with 5 assists and several steals in the game tonight, but you could score it as well. How did you manage to play so well? Where were you hiding?
I wasn't hiding. I think I was just determined to go out and give it my best, and that's what I did. And these coaches really stress defense, and they put a lot of confidence in my defense, and that helped me go hard and hopefully help motivate the others.
Cheryl, let me ask you, beyond the explosive joy you felt when you beat the Soviets, it's a couple of hours later now. How do you perceive the Soviets looked at this American team? Grudging respect, anger, admiration, what?
All the above. But they'll definitely be back in the World Championship, so it will not be the same team that we beat tonight.
Kay, how good is this team? Could anybody touch you in the Worlds?
Oh, Surely anybody
Come on
can.
now, you could gloat.
No, I don't think that we can. We played an extremely well game tonight. I mean, all phases of our game, transition, half-court offense, defense, they were all clicking for us. We had a tremendous team effort tonight. Each person had a special part in this game and carried out that part very well. So, you know, we just had an exceptionally good game tonight. I think that this team could have a number of exceptionally good games. I think they have the talent and the ability to do that.
Nick, let's liven this up a little bit. These girls have a good group, I mean, and they're a lot of fun. And we're going to go down to Coop, who's the leader of it, and do a little rap here. Come on, girls, let's go. Tell us about the starting team, Coop. Let's go. Let's get into it now. Come on, Jennifer.
The rap is usually done with everyone. I do every player, but we're just going to do the beginning and then the starting five. Right. I said we're on the mission for the goal. We're going for first, not second or third. What you say, ladies? Well, I said it started in April at Colorado Springs, where about 200 ladies tried out for a team. The hustle, the sweat was all over the place. They worked very hard to represent their state. Yeah. There were many young ladies that vanished without a trace, but 12 stood tall to represent the USA. The Goodwill Games has brought a lot of attention, but these 12 ladies are on a mission. These 12 young ladies, they are very unique because they rock the house. They never settle for defeat. Right now, I would like to introduce to you these 5 young ladies that make up our crew. She has won every award that you could possibly win, but she still works hard to the very end. She's 6'2". There's no other like her. The queen of
Yeah.
Katrina's game is as solid as a rock. Bring the ball down the lane and she'll throw your shot. She stands tall at 6'3", dominates the boards. Her nickname is Tree. She's very quiet. She don't say much, but bring the ball down the lane and she'll snuff your stuff. And Donovan stands at 6'8". She has a sweet little jumper that opponents hate. Okay, here we go. I said Teresa Edwards stands at 5'10", and when she steps on the court, she plays to win. She's very quick. She's also bold. She'll blow by you so fast, you will catch her cold. Kami Etheridge is short but quick, and with her pressure deep, and she'll give you a fit. She's 5'5", and as I said, she's quick. She'll go by you so fast, lay it in, that's it.
All right.
The only thing we could do for an encore is to hope the men could do what the women have done in Spain. You got a word for them?
Go, USA, go for the gold. Ready? USA, go for the gold!
Last night, Italy remained undefeated, improving its record to 4-0, beating the West Germans 85-76. Walter Magnifico poured in 26 points. He's been Italy's best player throughout the tournament. Italy's experience and depth was just too much for Germany as Italy won by 9. The United States was involved in a wild, crazy game that had the sellout crowd on their feet for most of the game. The U.S. down Puerto Rico 73-72. David Robinson had a big game with 19 points and 8 rebounds, but the outcome wasn't decided until the game's final seconds. Twice the United States had the ball in a 1-point lead, and both times Kenny Smith missed shots to keep Puerto Rico alive. Smith was unable to see the scoreboard and thought the score was actually tied. Puerto Rico had a chance to win it, but Mario Morales missed a shot at the buzzer, and the U.S. escaped with a 1-point victory. So tonight, it's 2 undefeated teams, Italy and the United States, both 4-0. And Mike Fratello, what kind of a game do we look for tonight?
I think we're going to have a great game this evening. The Italian team is very confident. They've said in the local media the entire week that we will beat the United States team in the final of this region. They're deep. They have perimeter game. They have an inside game with Walter Magnifico. They play excellent team defense. The United States team barely escaped last night. They were fortunate. They gave away too many opportunities. Missed free throws, mental mistakes. Just a total collapse down the stretch, really, by the U.S. team, but still hung on to win. Tonight, we're going to have a great one.
So it's Italy against the United States as the first round comes to an end here in Malaga.
Crowd in La Ciudad Jardín in Malaga, Spain, where tonight the undefeated team from the United States will meet another undefeated team from Italy to decide the top seed in the seed group. Elsewhere, in Zaragoza, Spain, in Brazil, will decide the #1 spot in that group. In Ferrol in the B group, the Russians undefeated Australia, Cuba, Israel all tied with 2-2 records. The second and third spot still to be decided. Here at Malaga in Group C, the U.S. and Italy deciding the matchup tonight. Canada, Yugoslavia, both undefeated, deciding the #1 seed in that group. We'll tell you more about the seeding and how this tournament progresses as you stay with us throughout the evening. But we're ready to go as David Robinson will jump against Walter Magnifico of Italy, and the American team controls the tip. Number 5 is Tommy Amaker, starting in the backcourt with Kenny Smith for the United States, Charles Smith, Derek McKee, and David Robinson on the front line for the Americans. This is Kenny Smith into Charles Smith, and a steal. Budamonte with a steal for the Italians. They love to run. They back it out. Budamonte, the point guard, the leader, a great ball handler, particularly in pressure situations. Number 10 is Villalta. Budamonte and Gilardi in the backcourt. Budamonte with the feed. Villalta scores to give Italy the lead. Ronaldo Villalta with the first basket of the game, and the Italians have taken the lead.
No, I think it's interesting to note that tonight we're starting Tom Amaker in the backcourt. After last night, we're wondering why he was not in the game. Perhaps it was that they were saving him for the start tonight.
Amaker misses from long range. Walter Magnifico clears it out to Budamonte. Ahead to Romeo Sacchetti, the veteran guard. Open on the other side is Villalta. Rebound to McKee. Ahead to Amaker. This should be a fast-paced, high-scoring game. Both teams like to run. But the United States turns it over. Budamonte again leading the break. Look at him handle the ball. David Robinson hustling down court for the rebound. Sacchetti by himself against the 3-on-1. McKee ties it at 2.
Nice execution in a fast break. Kenny Smith pulled the defense, made the pass to McKee, who filled the outside lane, and we get the score. I was mentioning before, Amaker we consider to be our best defensive guard. He's up pressuring Budamonte in the backcourt. This is something we weren't getting last night.
Budamonte is such a great ball handler, they've got to put pressure on him. Gilardi from the outside, and he's fouled by Kenny Smith.
Another one of the problems with starting Bogues in the backcourt versus Italy is that the Italian guards go to the glass as well as any guards we've seen. As we look here at the replay, we get a piece of the jump shooter. That's something that we try not to do, coaching, keep people away from fouling jump shooters.
Enrico Gilardi at the free throw line for Italy. 29-year-old veteran, one of the better defensive players on this team, and a very good long-range shooter. Italy with the lead, 3-2. Italy won last night, beating West Germany 85-76, while the United States eked out a 1-point win over Puerto Rico. And it's 4-2 in favor of the Italians. Tommy Amaker from Duke in the starting lineup tonight, picked up by Budamonte. Charles Smith and Magnifico with a rebound. He's been Italy's best player in this tournament.
Without question, he's one of the finest big men we've seen in the tournament overall. Has great offensive moves inside.
Villalta misses the first shot, but this team really hustles. This is a typical example. They hustle and play harder than any team I've seen in the tournament.
We saw them last night diving into the stands 3 or 4 times to get loose balls.
Budamonte penetrates, but a steal by Kenny Smith ahead to Amaker on the breakaway.
There's some quickness in that backcourt right now. Amaker, Kenny Smith, they'll apply pressure defensively. We'll be able to run on offense.
And the score is tied 4-4 with 17:20 remaining in the first half. And Magnifico can't hold a bad pass by Sacchetti.
There's the pressure defense, forcing turnover.
Steal by Gilardi. Got to protect the basketball around these Italian guards. They're always looking for opportunities to make a steal.
There's great size in the Italian backcourt. Both of these guards are very big.
Walter Magnifico had 26 points last night with a great spin move to the basket. He's averaged nearly 16 points a game in the World Championships. And Italy takes the lead 6-4. Charles Smith. And he was fouled by Walter Magnifico. The Americans would love to get Magnifico in foul trouble and get him on the bench. He's the biggest scorer on this team.
Last night against a big German team, he was in foul trouble. And here, once again, we get good offensive position in the lane. Nice entry pass by our guards, and we go up strong.
First foul on Magnifico. The Italians leading 6-4. 2 free throws for Charles Smith, who's averaging 19.3 points a game. Mel Proctor with the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. El Entrenador del Año, the coach of the year in the NBA. Mike Fratello bringing you the action. We hope you're enjoying it. You watched last night's game. You saw a great contest with the U.S. winning, and I think maturing a lot in that victory.
Well, they definitely learned a lot. One thing in particular is that you have to know the time and score at all times. After seeing the last minute of that game, I don't think there's any question it's one of the most exciting finishes we've seen.
Sakete on the dish-off, and he traveled. One thing Kenny Smith learned is to try to watch the scoreboard. But as you found out, and we both did going down on the floor this afternoon, if you're on the floor, you really can't see the score because the scoreboard is directly above the court, and there are no other scoreboards in the arena. And Kenny Smith thought the score was tied, that he might win the game. McKee with a miss. McKee on the follow.
That's one of the reasons why they recommend score clocks and scoreboards at the ends of arenas so that the players can see it. It's in their vision line. This particular arena, once you get in a certain area on the floor, you cannot see the clock, time, or score above your head, and that's what happened. He thought at the end it was a tie game.
Magnifico shot blocked by David Robinson. Robinson feels that he can do more in terms of defense, and he rejects the shot. Charles Smith is hacked at the other end. The foul is on Brunamante.
Our team is playing inspired basketball right now. I think they realized that last night they gave Puerto Rico too many opportunities to take the game from missed free throws, lack of alertness. Here we see the long, quick pass ahead for a fast break opportunity for us, and we just seem sharper right now.
Brunamante charged with his first foul, a substitution for Italy. Fulvio Poliselo, number 8, has checked in, replacing Sakete. The United States leads 8-6. The officials for this game, Zyke from Poland and Garcia from Colombia.
This move right here by Coach Bianchini is telling us that he's concerned about the boards right now. He has a bigger team on the floor to try and help them rebound against us.
The United States leads by 3. Charles Smith from Pitt joined the team late in training camp, replacing Charles Shackelford of North Carolina State. He's been one of the stars of this American team. Magnifico with a rebound. Brunamante so effective at pushing the ball up the floor. He rarely turns it over. The amateur extending the defense to pressure him. The U.S. gets caught in a switch. Bill Alta got his shot blocked. So both Charles Smith and David Robinson are flying through the air tonight.
We have 2 great shot blockers on the United States team. They both have good range. They go after the ball and get pieces or change many shots.
Remember some of the rules in effect in international competition. The three-pointer. You'll see quite a few of them tonight from the 2 Italian guards and from Kenny Smith of the Americans. 30-second shot clock in effect. You get in the bonus situation after the 8th team foul. Magnifico gets Robinson off his feet, draws the foul. He made a little head fake, and either Robinson or McKee is going to be charged with the foul. It's on Derek McKee.
When you talk about philosophy of the game, this team that the Americans are playing this evening, the Italian team, does not shoot as many three-pointers as many of the other teams. They look to try and get the ball inside, get people in foul trouble, and go to the line.
Walter Magnifico misses the first of 2 free throws. Talking to some of the Italian writers, and they feel that Magnifico would be an NBA prospect, and he would probably have to move from center to forward, and that would hurt his game because he's not a real good shooter from the perimeter.
He definitely could play as a big forward in the NBA. He's probably one of the better prospects we've seen as far as having a chance to play in the NBA.
Charles Smith muscling his way inside. He just cleared out Poliselo for the basket.
Charles Smith seems to get off quickly each night, and that's a good sign for the U.S. team.
The United States by 5, their biggest lead. 14:56 remaining in the first half. The U.S. guards doing a good job of pressuring both Brunamante and Gilardi in the backcourt.
They've disrupted their offensive timing right now.
Brunamante on this. Charles Smith clears it out to Kenny Smith. They call him Jet out of the University of North Carolina on the 15-footer. The U.S. off to a good start tonight as they open up a 7-point lead. Well, there is a timeout on the floor with 14:36 remaining in the first half. The United States leads Italy 13-6. The United States off to a good start behind the inside. The United States off to a good start behind the scoring of Charles Smith and Derek McKee. Smith with 5 points, McKee with 4.
And the Italian coach, Valerio Bianchini, I know, was very concerned about stopping the United States big men, and he's had his problems so far in that area.
So far, to me, the most impressive thing about the United States team is the move of Lute Olson to start Tommy Amaker in the backcourt along with Kenny Smith. It looked at this point like a great move. They were applying pressure on the ball, causing a little bit of chaos in the Italian offense.
The U.S. leads 13-6. Amaker again pressuring Brunamante. Kenny Smith guarding Gilardi. Magnifico spinning away from David Robinson, but what a recovery. Charles Smith slid over to try to help out.
As we see on the replay, we miss on the steal attempt. Charles Smith comes over to cover for his teammate. The official sees the body contact. Obviously, we don't have a good angle from that camera shot.
Foul is on Charles Smith. That's his first, the third team foul. Walter Magnifico, who's missed his two previous free throws, is back to the line. The 25-year-old center of the Italian team. He must have seen David Robinson shoot free throws last night. David was 1 for 6 in last night's game against Puerto Rico. Magnifico makes his first. 13-7, the United States leading. They go into Robinson. Over Magnifico. First basket of the game for David Robinson, who is getting better with each game.
If we keep putting the ball inside, we'll force the Italian team to trap back. That's the time you'll see Kerr come into the game, so we have that spot-up three-point shooter on the floor.
Brunamante with the entry pass. And Poloselo is fouled. Foul is on Derek McKee. That's his second foul.
We see here on the replay, keep in mind, the Italians have good inside fakes. They get us up in the air, and that's where they're drawing the fouls on us right now. We must stay down on the first ball fake.
So McKee, after picking up 2 fouls, leaves, and Sean Elliott, a 6'6" forward from the University of Arizona, checks in. He averaged almost 16 points a game for the Wildcats this past season, playing for Lute Olson, who is the head coach of this American team. His assistant, Bobby Crimmins of Georgia Tech. Jerry Pym of the University of California, Santa Barbara, and Scott Thompson, also from the University of Arizona. The U.S. leads by 8. 13:30 remaining in the first half. Magnifico, a fine passer. Bill Alta unable to get off the shot. Out to Brunamante. 4 on the shot clock. They're going to have to force one. Gilardi, a three-pointer. Enrico Gilardi with his 5th three-pointer of the tournament. And a steal at the other end by Brunamante, but he is...
That was about 28 seconds of as good a defense as you can play, and then to have a three-point shot come up really brings the back sometimes of the defensive team.
The U.S. leads by 5. Robinson and Magnifico banging each other. Charles Smith swings it to Kenny Smith. Fine rebound by Charles Smith. Robinson. Magnifico clears it out. Brunamante ahead to Gilardi. Robinson quickly picking up Magnifico, and heavy traffic stripped away by Robinson. Bill Alta can't score, and he's called for a charge. United States with a 5-point lead. Another very hot night. Temperature over 100 degrees here in La Ciudad Jardín. Tommy Amaker connects for the United States, playing extremely well in the early going. 4 points for Amaker, and it's 17-10.
It's interesting to watch the U.S. defense. When the ball goes inside to the Italian big people, normally you would trap back or double team a very good low post man. But keep in mind, with the great perimeter shooters that the Italian team has, our guards need to stay closer to home. It really hurts when you try to play help-out defense.
A steal by Amaker. And Kenny Smith trying to save it. But the ball is out of bounds to Italy. I think a big factor defensively, Mike, for the U.S. team has been the pressure the guards are applying and forcing the Italians not necessarily to turn the ball over, but to take more time getting into their offense. And a moment ago, we saw the shot clock wind down to 3 seconds, and they had to force a three-pointer.
It disrupts the offensive execution.
Magnifico on the miss.
United States busting out 3-on-1 against Gilardi. Kenny Smith.
Great move by Kenny Smith. After he received the pass from Amaker, a little stutter step and turns the corner for the score.
This is the biggest lead for the Americans. 19-10 over Italy with 11:20 remaining in the first half. Villalta. Renato Villalta with his second field goal, and the lead is cut to 7. David Robinson to Smith going back door. Great pass to Charles Smith. It counts, and there's the foul. The Americans making a couple of changes. Number 6, Steve Kerr from Arizona. Ronnie Cycli, number 10, will have to wait to get in. And coming into the game for the Italian team is number 14, Pierluigi Marzorati. And with this entrance, he now breaks the record of the great veteran in Italy, Dino Meneghini. This is the 272nd game in which Marzorati has played for Italy's national team. That is a new record.
He's been a great player for many, many years for this country, and I think it's a tribute to him that he made the team once again. Many people did not feel he had a chance of making it. Came back from a serious injury to make this team.
And here's the most popular player in Malaga, number 4, Tyrone Mortzing-Bogues of the United States. A columnist in one of the sports newspapers in Madrid, El Mundo Deportivo, writer by the name of Fernando Font, has called Bogues the Maradona del Basket. Maradona, the soccer star from Argentina, and Bogues immensely popular here in Spain.
It's interesting. We substitute. The U.S. team brings Bogues in when the Italian team brings in Marzorati. Marzorati less likely to hurt Bogues on the boards as Bruno Monti is.
Now, Bogues will have to wait to get into the game. A steal by Sean Elliott. The U.S. now has Amaker and Kerr in the backcourt. Bogues will be in momentarily, I'm sure, to replace Amaker. This is Ronnie Cycli. He wastes no time scoring. Cycli and Robinson combined so effectively in a 1-2 punch for the Americans last night against Puerto Rico.
I thought it was interesting last night for the U.S. team to play that big line. It proved to be very effective against them. They'll need it again before this tournament's over.
Amaker slips and Magnifico pounces on the loose ball. The Italians are an outstanding loose ball team.
That's hustle. That's extra effort and hustle when you come up with loose balls.
Can't leave any scraps on the table around this team. They're gone. Magnifico. 5 points for Walter Magnifico.
The Italians are running an interesting offensive move. They are baseline screening across the lane, then screening down on the screener. And the U.S. team is having a tough time handling that move right now. They may need to switch that defensively.
Steve Kerr against Gilardi. Cycli throws it back out to Amaker on the shot clock. Sean Elliott. Shot clock down to 7 seconds. They've got to look for a shot. 4 seconds left. 3-2. Amaker forces one. Elliott grabs the rebound. Cycli on the follow.
I'll tell you what just happened, Mel. The Italian team changed defenses and went to a junk defense, a triangle and 2, and confused the United States team.
Gilardi backs it out, guarded by Steve Kerr. Amaker is on Marzorati, the other guard. They swing it to Marzorati. Marzorati on the miss, and Kerr hustles after the loose ball. The United States with a 12-point lead. Amaker. Great shooting in the first half by this American team.
Great move by Lute Olson, starting Tommy Amaker.
And a steal by Amaker and 2 more. Tommy Amaker with 8 points. And the United States has opened up a 16-point lead. Their biggest lead in the first half. And they're high-fiving on the American bench.
Of the men's World Basketball Championships from Spain. You know, the tournament started with 24 teams, and following today's action, the tournament will narrow to 12 teams. They'll be divided into 2 groups of 6. They'll go to 2 separate cities in Spain, Barcelona and Oviedo, and then they'll play there to determine the final seedings for the gold and the silver and the medal of the World's Basketball Championship, which will be played in Madrid. It'll all happen while we're still covering the Goodwill games, and we'll be bringing you all the highlights of the action. The United States is assured of moving on to the next round, but of course the seeding seeding counts a lot, so the game with Italy is still very important. Want to remind you that we have Rhythmic Gymnastics coming your way at halftime of this game. If you didn't get a chance to see some of the presentation from last night, don't miss it. It is a beautiful and artistic sport. You will love it. And also, artist Leroy Neiman will join us in our studio. So stay with us as we continue our coverage of the Goodwill Games.
To the American team, Lute Olson, and to his right, Jerry Pym. The United States off to a great start against a strong team from Italy, leading 30-14, and the American defense has been almost awesome so far. This is a very good Italian team.
The United States team came out inspired tonight and determined to show that they deserve to be in this big game against a very fine Italian team and could win it. I'm not so sure they don't read the newspapers like everybody else. The Italians have said all week, we will beat the United States in the finals in Malaga.
Tyrone Bogues has replaced Amaker, and look at him apply the pressure to Marzorati. Gilardi brings it across. The Italians down by 16 with 8:38 left in the first half. Number 11, Benelli, in for the first time. Draft pick of the Atlanta Hawks, who's played very little, and he has found Augusto Benelli, a 7-footer, a youngster, only 22. Drafted by the Hawks, and that's been somewhat controversial. And as the head coach of the Hawks, you've had to deal with a lot of Italian writers the last few days, Mike.
Many questions about Benelli, and we're just treating it this way, that when the tournament is all finished, we'll start talking about Benelli. But we thought in drafting him, he had a chance to be a big forward in the NBA. He's 7 feet tall. He's just 21 years old right now, and he has a bright future. Nice touch with the basketball, obviously good size.
Steve Kerr is charged with a foul. The Americans have 5 team fouls. Benelli played high school ball in the United States for a couple of years at Long Island Lutheran in New York. And he was asked by one of the Italian writers, did you develop a liking for hamburgers while in the United States? And he said, no, I still prefer pasta.
Well, I can agree with Mike. I like pasta, too.
I can understand that. So do I. I'm not even Italian. The U.S. by 14. Bogues and Kerr now in the backcourt with Elliott, Charles Smith, and Cycli on the front line. Bogues penetrates. They go wild every time Bogues touches the ball. The shot clock down to 3 seconds. They're going to have to force one. Elliott just in time. John Elliott with his first basket. And the lead is back to 16. Not sure Marzorati knows how to deal with Tyrone Bogues. He's not used to having someone down around his ankles.
I don't know if you see that type of quickness in the Italian league either.
Gilardi, pass slapped out of bounds by Ronnie Cycli.
What we have on the floor right now is basically a second unit with one starter for the United States team, Charles Smith, giving the starters, the rest of them, a rest. Smith will get his blow when he brings the other people back in.
Gilardi on the spin. Good help defensively by Cycli. Benelli's shot is smothered by 2 Americans. Here come Bogues. Charles Smith and Tyrone Bogues. Smith, the leading scorer in the game with 10 points, and the U.S. leads by 18, 34-16, their biggest lead. Play all over Magnifico, and in frustration, he smacks Steve Kerr in the head. Here comes Bogues pushing it up. On the dish off, inside to Cycli. Great passing. And the U.S. opens up a 20-point lead. Can you believe this?
It's tough to explain this, but some nights when the pressure defense is as it is tonight for the U.S. team, it's so contagious, everyone picks up the same spirit.
Bill Alt's on the miss. Cycli couldn't hold the rebound. Marzorati. Looks like Cycli may have gotten a piece of that shot. Charles Smith grabs the rebound, and the frustration is beginning to surface in the part of the Italians. They don't know what hit them right now.
What's happening tonight is all the loose balls, all the second shots, the ball bounces tonight are going the U.S. way during this first half. It's very frustrating to the Italian team.
The United States leading 36-16 against a very good team in Italy, a team that has been unbeaten and has been one of the most impressive teams in the tournament so far.
I think Lute Olson has to feel a little bit of satisfaction that finally all the experimenting is coming together now, and he feels a little more comfortable with this team. And
the ball is out of bounds off Charles Smith. 6 2:14 left in the first half. Very impressive performance by the Americans so far tonight. The Italians now seem a little tentative on offense. Magnifico against Sean Elliott. There's help defense, but he scores over Ronnie Cycli. 7 points for Walter Magnifico.
There's no way that we can play Magnifico with Sean Elliott on the switching defense, and that's what happened that time. We got caught in a switch, a big mismatch size-wise.
Elliott's only 6'6", Magnifico is 6'10". And it's knocked out of bounds by Augusto Binelli. Substitution for the American team, number 9, Derek McKee, returns, replacing Elliott. Now imagine that's because of the matchup with Magnifico. Lute Olson realizes that he's better suited to having McKee on him than Elliott.
No question. We needed the exercise to play that man inside. And keep in mind, the coaches from the U.S. team felt all along that McKee really is a big forward, and they've converted him to the small forward position.
Armin Gilliam, number 14 from Nevada, Las Vegas, is in for the first time. He didn't play in last night's game. Romeo Sacchetti is back in for the Italians, replacing Villalta. You're looking at Derek McKee of the Americans. They lead by 18 points with 5:39 remaining in the first half.
The Italians have changed defenses now. They're back into a 2-3, hoping that the U.S. team will go to its perimeter game, that they'll start missing, and the Italians can get off and run.
Bad shot by Steve Kerr, and Benelli grabs the rebound. Kerr was 0 for 5 from the floor last night, and I imagine he's a little anxious to hit that first shot.
Well, he did exactly what the Italians wanted him to do. He forced up a bad shot. Basically, it's the same as a turnover.
Sacchetti, out of control, turns it over. He thought he may have been fouled. Kerr into Gilliam. Charles Smith with a fake. And the rebound is taken down by Benelli, who has played very little in this tournament. That's kind of a surprise to a lot of people.
He's very young. Remember, the Italian coach, Bianchini, has that blend of youth and the veteran players, and I don't know if he's willing to take a chance right now playing Benelli too many minutes.
Foul is on Armin Gilliam. You know, a lot of the Italian writers have asked you, Mike Fratello, why would you draft a player, Benelli, who's not playing much for the Italian team? If he can't play regularly for this team, how can he play in the NBA?
Well, you have to keep in mind that, first of all, he's still a youngster. He's only 21 years old right now, and big people have a tendency to develop a little bit slow, and we just felt, our coaches in evaluating, that he had the talent that down the road, maybe 2 or 3 years, he could be an NBA player.
And as someone once said, you can't coach height. He's 7 feet tall.
No.
Gilardi. Enrico Gilardi with 7 points. The United States leads 36-20 with 4:20 remaining in the first half. Lute Olson beginning to make a lot of changes now, trying to keep his team fresh. Extremely hot in this building, and it's taken its toll in this tournament. Bogues on the miss. Sacchetti against Bogues. Talk about a mismatch. And look at Bogues picking pocket. Fine block. Steve Kerr on the follow. Bogues on the miss. The United States pounding the offensive boards, and the ball belongs to Italy.
That was tremendous hustle by Benelli to block that shot.
And play had been halted when the Italians rushed down court. Timeout had been called for. David Robinson is back in along with Amaker and Kenny Smith. So with 3:52 remaining in the half, the U.S. leads by 16. Some of the rules involving the groupings and the seedings and so forth. Each team plays 5 preliminary games in the first round, one against every member of its group, and the top 3 teams from each group, based upon the prelim results, will advance to the second round. So the U.S. and Italy battling tonight for the top seed in Group C here at Malaga. There are a lot of rules dealing with tie-breaking and that type of thing, but they're really too elaborate to get into right now. You need a while to explain them. Armin Gilliam yanks it down and clears it out to Kenny Smith. Valerio Bianchini, a concerned Italian coach.
It's interesting that the Italians have finally brought Antonello Riva into the game. One of their best prospects to score instant points for them, and they needed him certainly against the U.S. defense.
Riva, number 12 in blue. And David Robinson is fouled. He goes to the basket. Foul is on Riva.
We see on the replay that he splits the seam, gets inside, and they take a good foul there to prevent the basket.
Oh, David Robinson, who made only 1 of 6 free throw attempts last night, goes to the line. I know you were talking with him after the game and chatting with him about his free throws, trying to make some constructive criticism.
Well, being the great free throw shooter that I once was back in the CYO League, I thought I could probably help out Dave Robinson.
Apparently it's helped a lot. He just missed the first one and the second. But it'll take a while. Riva around Robinson. And David Robinson picks up the foul. Although David has played well in the last 2 games, he was telling us after last night's game that he's still not pleased with his defense. He's not as quick as he'd like to be and not blocking as many shots.
His timing isn't there right now. He still feels that he's going up too soon right there as an example. There's no way that Riva should be able to get that shot up over Dave Robinson. When he normally has his timing, he waits till he sees the ball in the air, release, then goes and gets it.
Antonello Riva at the free throw line for Italy. The top 3 teams from this group, Group C, along with the top 3 teams from Group D, which includes Canada and Yugoslavia, the 2 best teams, will advance to Barcelona for the second round. I beg your pardon, to Oviedo for the second round, and the top 3 teams from both Groups A and B will go to Barcelona.
Keep in mind now, with 3 minutes to go in the first half, I'm sure the goal of the Italian team is to try and creep back within 10 or just under 10 before halftime and then have a legitimate chance of making a run in the second half. Remember the 3-pointers now, very important in international competition.
The United States is led by as many as 20 points in the first half. They're up by 14 right now with 2:45 left. Shot clock down to 4 seconds. Gilliam on the miss. Robinson with a rebound. Look at David Robinson battle. He tips it to Gilliam. And it'll be Italy's ball. Not sure the Italians can handle the inside strength with Robinson, Charles Smith, and Gilliam.
What they've done is they've gone to the zone now, and they feel that the U.S. team is not as smooth in running their zone attack as they were versus the man-to-man.
3-pointer by Riva. Antonello Riva, who's been the most effective 3-point shooter. That's his 7th 3-pointer of the tournament. He's cut the American lead to 11.
Little by little, they're sneaking back into the contest now. As I mentioned, if they get this below 10 before the half, they'll be in good shape to have a legitimate chance at the win.
Amaker way off the mark. Walter Magnifico clears it out to Gilardi. The Italians with some momentum right now. Riva throws it back out. Benelli looking for a guard, gets the ball to Marzorati. Pierluigi Marzorati, the elder statesman on his team at age 33. Ian Cicchetti, the older heads of this young team. Magnifico misses the jump hook. Benelli fighting for the rebound, but it rolls to Tommy Amaker. 1:20 left. Kenny Smith. Suddenly, the United States shooting has gone sour.
Our shooting has gone sour because our shot selection has not been good. We are not on balance. We're taking off-balance shots, and we're hurrying a lot of the shots.
Magnifico surrounded by 3 Americans. Amaker with a lead pass to Kenny Smith. Smith has 6 points, and the lead is 38-25 in favor of the Americans. Less than a minute remaining, and again in the final minute, time is kept not only in minutes, but in tenths of seconds. I should say in seconds and in tenths of seconds. Had some interesting situations resulting from that. Saw a game decided the other night in the final 1.8 seconds of a game. So with 43 seconds remaining in the first half, the United States leads by 13. We've got a timeout. Hello, this is Mel Proctor back in Malaga, Spain. As we look at the shooting percentages, the U.S. has cooled off in the last 5 minutes, but still shooting 48% on their 2-point field goals. Italy with some poor shooting, but hit a couple of 3-pointers to stay within striking distance. Mike, in the final 43 seconds, what kind of strategy can we look for?
Well, they might go for a 2-for-1 situation. Hurry the ball up and try and get a quick shot off. Force Italy to come down and have to take a shot before the game clock is used up, and then the U.S. would get 1 more remaining shot. In other words, we could possibly get 2 shots to their 1 in this exchange.
43.1 seconds remaining. Kenny Smith and Kerr in the backcourt. Elliott, Robinson, and Charles Smith on the front line. The U.S. leads by 13. Kenny Smith off a screen by Robinson, nails it.
Nice little move by Lute Olson coming out of the timeout. Screened the man on the top of the zone. Little pick and roll action, jump shot for Kenny Smith.
Charles Smith leads the Americans with 10 points. Tommy Amaker and Kenny Smith with 8 apiece. 19 seconds left. Three-pointer by Riva. Robinson tips it out to Gilardi. 7 seconds left. Gilardi saves it. 3 seconds left. And he stepped out of bounds. So the Americans ball with 3.6 seconds left. And the Italians are upset.
3.6 seconds is a lot of time. You can dribble from one end of the court to the other end in 4 seconds. If they don't get up and pressure us, we're going to get a good shot off here.
Kerr brings it across. 2 seconds left. I think he may have been fouled. Lute Olson indicated to the officials that he was hit on the arm, but that brings the first half to an end. The United States playing well, particularly in the early going, and at the half they lead Italy by a score of 40-25.
Well, today, the USA women defeated the Soviet Union in basketball in the Goodwill Games championships for women's basketball. The USA men continue on a roll. They're going for win number 5 as they play Italy tonight, leading by 15 at halftime. So could it be that the USA men may be destined down the road somewhere in these world championships to be meeting the team from the Soviet Union? Keep your fingers crossed. It would be a great matchup to be able to see. There's a long road to go yet, though. Right now, at halftime of that game, we're going to join Leandra Riley at Rhythmic Gymnastics, concluding the second of a 2-day program. Rhythmic Gymnastics we presented last night had some comments about the beauty of it and the wonder of it all, and there were 12 perfect 10s awarded to performances out of 88 routines last night. Our experts at the scene also say that may be an index of the inflated scores of the rhythmic gymnastics, but it's a beautiful thing to watch. And let's go now and pick up with Leandra Riley.
Hello and welcome to the Olympic Sports Complex for our second and final day of coverage of the Rhythmic Gymnastics competition. Today we have the individual event finals. Yesterday, if you saw our telecast, Tatiana Druchinina of the Soviet Union was chosen the all-around champion, and she did it perfectly. She received a perfect score of 40. That translates into 4 10s for each of the implements. Today we have the top 8 in each implement advancing to these finals, so only the best of the best will be here. And while I'm on the subject of the best, let me bring in one of our experts at these Goodwill Games. He's a 1980 and 84 Olympian, bronze and silver medalist in artistic gymnastics, Kathy Johnson. And Kathy, I said there are implements. Let's define for our viewers what some of these implements really are.
Well, one of the events is the ball. It's a specified weight and size, made of rubber. But what the girls do with this is not very ordinary.
That is very, very true. And the ball is smaller than a volleyball. It is rubberized, so I can palm it. But still, when they dance and tumble and twist, it's incredible.
It really is. And here is a rope event. It's an ordinary jump rope, and the length determines on the size of the gymnast. It's tied at both ends, and this is where the gymnast should catch every toss. The rope should never become limp like you see it here. It should remain wire-like.
And there are no handles like a good old-fashioned American jump rope.
No, not at all.
All right, our competition has begun, so let's get right to the action.
Each gymnast brings a preliminary score with her into the finals. That will be added to the score she receives for the performance you are about to watch, and it's the combined total that will determine the winner. The first competitor we are going to see is Bianca Dietrich. She is from East Germany. She is 19 years old, and she is the captain of their national team.
Bianca is technically a very good gymnast, and beyond that, she's beautiful to watch. She has very good presence, excellent line. Meeting one of the requirements, those were skipping moves. Now keep in mind, this is an ordinary jump rope. They'll be doing tosses, leaps through the rope. It's a double turn. Anytime you see 2 elements during a toss, that's of superior difficulty. each of these routines, the gymnast is required to show at least 2 superior moves.
She's showing quite a variety in the way she's handling the rope. She's been folding it in half. She's been holding it by one end. Is this a requirement as well?
Yes, that is one of the requirements. They must show it in full length, doubled, quartered, and
wrapped
sometimes wrapping around the leg.
Wrapping around the knee for the conclusion, Bianca Dietrich of East Germany. She lives in Halle near Leipzig. And while we are waiting for the score, let's take another look at her performance.
It was a very good performance. I really saw no deductions in this routine. Watch her leaps. High off the floor, great extension.
Her score for the preliminaries was 10. She received an additional 10 to give her a combined total of 20. Perfect. And now we are ready for Marina Lobach of the Soviet Union, who also brings in a preliminary score of 10.
This is one of my favorite routines from the competition last night.
And the audience is getting into it.
The audience really loves this one. What's interesting is she's a very shy girl. I spoke with her with the national coach, but they say when she gets out on the floor, she really lets loose and performs. Also, this music you're hearing is an original piece written just for her by their pianist.
Now, she's a tiny competitor. She's only 5 feet 1 inches tall and only weighs 84 pounds.
With her movements, she looks bigger than life out there. Look at the expression. It's unbelievable what she can do with the rope. Double turn during a toss. Another toss with a double element. Beautiful feet, high on the toes. Oh, great ending.
Very subtle, very beautiful. Marina Lobach, who brought in a preliminary score of 10, and has her work cut out for her because Bianca Dietrich of East Germany also had a couple of 10s put together.
I really like the choreography of this routine much better.
It has a lot more personality.
Oh, a lot more.
Her score is another 10, so she has a perfect score of 20, and we have a tie for first. But right now, let's recap all of the standings for this event. A 3-way tie for first is actually what happens here. Tatiana Druchinina of the Soviet Union, who had a pair of 10s, winds up with a perfect score of 20, as does Marina Lobach and Bianca Dietrich. So we have 3 gymnasts with 20s, and 3 gold medals will be awarded, no silver or bronze. We'll be back with more rhythmic gymnastics later in our telecast.
Well-known artist Leroy Neiman has painted sporting scenes all over the world, and he's here in Moscow now for the Goodwill Games. He'll be sharing his work and his observations with us from time to time in our coverage. In the past few days, he has turned his eye to cycling. Here's the Olympic velodrome.
like to be close up, right on top of the thing. When these bikes come whirling by me, the disc wheels just sort of humming. I can hear these guys call to each other, up, down, steady. It's right to be here, right, my nose is right on the edge of the surface, right at the edge of this classic track. I've sketched velodromes at the Montreal and Los Angeles Olympics, but this one, with its graceful curves and slopes and classic proportions, is the finest and the fastest. The Russians, more familiar, are rushing around this Siberian birch very much at home. Still, it's the man on a bike that is everything. Also of classic proportions is 22-year-old Californian Steve Haig, with 18 years of swashbuckling, surfboarding, and cycling experience. We all know about the powerful leg development of bike racers, but take a look at these strong upper extremities.
Of the 1986 Goodwill Games have been brought to you by Pepsi. When it comes to taste and refreshment, time after time, it's Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
Coming up on our coverage of the Goodwill Games in prime time, we'll be going back to cycling to see some of the races that took place there today. We'll have some more rhythmic gymnastics, water polo, but right now, time to go back to Malaga, Spain. The United States and Italy, USA leading 40 to 25 at halftime. Let's go back to Malaga.
With Mike Fratello back in Malaga, Spain, as we get ready to start the second half. Game between the United States and Italy. Joining us is Bob Knight, the coach of the gold medal winning Olympic team for the Americans in 1984. Coach Knight, what are your impressions of this American team so far?
Well, I really like the way they've come out tonight defensively. I think they've had good pressure on the ball. The Italians run a one-guard offense. They've pressured that. I think Tommy Amaker has made a great difference in the play tonight as opposed to last night against Puerto Rico. I think Tommy has had great help defense. We've run well with the basketball. I think we put a lot of pressure at both ends of the court on the Italians, and quite frankly, I don't think they're quick enough to handle it.
All right, stay with us, and we'll let you and Ryan Michael chat about the second half as it unfolds. The U.S. leads 40 to 25. David Robinson again jumping center against Bonelli, who starts the second half for the Italian team. Not a particularly good cross, but the U.S. has it. How difficult is it, Coach Knight, to take teams from different backgrounds, different schools, and get them to gel and play as a team with so little preparation time?
I think it's a really difficult thing to do as Kenny Smith hits a three-pointer. I think it's a really difficult thing to do because you're playing all kinds of different ways, and now you're trying to bring 12 kids into one kind of play. But these kids really work hard at it, and the coaches have done an excellent job with this team.
Lute Olson has two kids from his program at the University of Arizona. It's blocked by David Robinson, and Amaker runs it down off to Kenny Smith.
The big help with having two kids from your own program is because they can work with the other kids on the squad. And really, you don't only have the coaches, but now you've got a couple of kids that are working with the other 10 kids trying to get done what has to be done. That's a tremendous help.
Magnifico still struggling. David Robinson clears it out to Amaker. The U.S. with a 20-point lead, matching their biggest lead. And he joined the team late in training camp, and he's been one of the stars. It can take him any time to fit in.
Well, he was unable to attend the trials, and we have some special considerations that are available to kids that, for good reasons, can't attend the trials, and that's how he was able to go to Tucson.
I know when the 1984 Olympic team was put together, it was a difficult decision to pass up some of the talented players, and Charles Barkley, who's a big star in the NBA now, was one of those. Is there a certain kind of player that you look for when you put together a team like the one the U.S. is fielding this year?
At that point, Barkley wasn't ready to work hard enough to play on that team. Barkley was a soft worker, and we just couldn't have it on that basketball team. The people we put together were, without any question, the best 12 kids for the way that we wanted to play. And I think it's always important. Mike doesn't run into this in the pros because the only time you coach a team like that is in an all-star game where you're trying to let everybody play. But here, where you're trying to win something, it's really important that kids are good practice players as well as good game players, because that's where you're going to put the thing together, and not everybody is that.
Is there a different strategy in terms of substitutions with a team like this than, say, with your team at the University of Indiana? More players involved?
I think one thing that you're really trying to do here is keep people as fresh as possible, use as many combinations as long as it doesn't hurt the flow of the game. I think you want to try and work out minutes for players so that we can count on X for 4 minutes and Y for 8 minutes in the first half, whatever it might be, and then stick to that if you can. Then maybe it comes down to a gold medal game or a semifinal game where you have to deviate from that a little bit. And I think everybody is well enough to do it then.
David Robinson on the stump. The United States leads by 22, three-point attempt. Lorenzo Premier connects. He didn't play at all in the first half. It's a little surprising. Kenny Smith from long range.
I think the Italians have quit. I thought that in the first half. They're not a team that comes back very well. They get behind. They don't play real well from that position. And we had a stretch where we had 36-16, and they scored 9 straight points because we missed a lot of things inside at that point. And had that not happened, I think this game would have been way, way over before the half.
No basket. We've got a foul called. And Mike, do you have any questions for Coach Knight?
My only thing, Bobby, is this, that last night we watched Tommy Amaker sit basically the entire game. We come out tonight, and here he is in the starting lineup. We made note of it to begin the game. Coach Olson makes a move here, which is very unusual in a big game like this.
Well, I think, Mike, and you kind of hit it on the head, Tommy was needed to come in here with what he can do defensively. He's got the same kind of quickness that Bogues has, but he's got a lot better size, and he does a lot more offensively on the half court than any other guard does. And I think he's been the deciding factor in the turnaround for them, without any question.
53-32, the United States leading Italy with 16:34 remaining in the second half. Derek McKee slips inside and backs it up.
Do you find it interesting that you're down 22, 23 points, and you're sitting back in a little 3-2 zone right now for the Italian team?
Well, see, I think the Italians felt that the U.S. would not be as effective against the zone as they would be against man-to-man, Mike. They started in man-to-man, which I thought was a mistake. I really felt they should have started in a zone. I think that's their best defense, and they played into one of our strengths, I think, in playing man-to-man against us.
Foul call on David Robinson of the United States. That's his third foul, the fourth team foul. Bob, are there any rules that are enforced in international play that you'd like to see adopted in the United States?
The lane. I would really like to see the lane widen, not like the pro lane like Mike has in the NBA, but I'd like to see this international lane in college play to get some of the wrestling matches further away from the basket and get more movement in American college play than we have right now.
Mike kind of likes the idea in the final minute, the first or second half, that the time is kept in tenths of seconds. How do you feel about that?
Well, Mike's trying to get Randy Whitman to shoot the ball quickly. He's trying to undo all those shot selection tactics that I gave him when he was at Indiana.
One of the magnificent scores for Italy, and it's 55-35 in favor of the U.S.
We used to have meetings every 2 weeks with Randy Whitman, okay, to encourage him to take more shots each game. It was hard to get him out of that system.
David Robinson overpowering Walter Magnifico.
This will really help Robinson, don't you think, Mike? Because he's asserting himself here in this game, I think, much more so than any game so far.
We mentioned last night he took more shots in the first half of the game last night than he had in all the previous games.
The U.S. with a 20-point lead with just over 15 minutes remaining in the second half as they try to finish the top-seeded team in Group C. Mel Proctor along with Mike Fratello. Bob Knight joining us in the second half.
couple times before conducting clinics. We brought our team over here once. I gave a 10-day clinic once in Madrid and another 10-day clinic in Barcelona. Antonio Diaz Miguel, their national coach, very close friend of mine.
And we have a timeout with 14:58 remaining in the half. The U.S. leading by 20. La Ciudad Jardín in Malaga, Spain, as the United States and Italy made to decide the top seed in Group C. And with 14:58 remaining in the game, the U.S. leads by 20 points. Played an outstanding game overall tonight and overpowered the team from Italy. Both teams coming in unbeaten. And Bob Knight, your impressions of some of these Italian players. Are there any players in this team who you think could play in America, particularly in the NBA?
Oh, no, there are no NBA players on the Italian team. They're too slow. It's a team that doesn't have real good quickness. Maserati, number 14, at one point was a pretty good guard, but he just is not able to play anymore now. I think they've got some kids that would be fairly good American college players.
And a pushing foul is called on Ariel Costa, number 5 of Italy.
Mike just told me he drafted number 11. I hope it was down the list a long way.
He's just a youngster, Coach, just a youngster, one of those big white guys that comes along late.
57-37, the United States leading. Charles Smith squares up for the jumper. Ronnie Cycli tips it out of bounds. Bob, have any of the U.S. players surprised you in any way?
No, I think that I was sorry that Butler was unable to stay with him, the kid from California, Berkeley, because I think he's an excellent basketball player and would have really very smart and a good passer. But I think that a game like this is really important for our kids because I think it's going to do an awful lot for their confidence.
And a collision underneath as Sean Elliott runs into one of the Italians. Let's see which way they call this.
It was a block.
Roberto Premier tried to step in front of him. Foul is on Premier.
Bobby, let me ask you this. During the first half, when the Italians made that little run of 9 points to get back into the game, is it a concern that when we go with that 1-second unit group of ours, we really don't have scorers on the floor?
Well, Mike, what I thought happened was that we took 3 or 4 bad shots in there, and then we scrambled around the bucket 3 or 4 other times and just couldn't get it down. I felt that with the team that we had on the floor, that we maybe should have increased our 20-point lead during that stretch by 2 or 3 points instead of losing 9 of it. And we just didn't have some things go down for us. I think we've done a real good job on the boards at both ends.
Bob, do you think this United States team is capable of beating the Russians?
I think it'll be very tough on the boards. I think that they've got to constantly improve. They've got 3 games in Oviedo to work. They'll be playing good teams up there. And I think they've got to really work at the board play because the Russians will be allowed to play. I mean, it'll be a tough physical game, and they will shoot the ball well and be allowed to play.
13:45 remaining in the game. The United States leads Italy 59-39. And Benelli reaching over the back of Charles Smith. I think that Ariel Costa committing the foul. That's his second.
We see here on the replay 2 big men fighting for position. There's that lane now being a little bit wider, moves you a little bit further out from the basket.
Kenny Smith backs it out. Charles Smith on the scoop. May have been fouled.
We're doing a much better job tonight. The U.S. kids are taking the ball inside and going to the bucket than they did last night.
The U.S. leading by 18 points with 13:15 remaining. Tommy Amaker teamed up in the backcourt with Kenny Smith, Cycli, Charles Smith, and Elliott up front. The U.S. turns it over. Brunamante with the lead pass. And Premier got flattened.
Whether or not it was intentional, it saved the basket for the U.S. team.
Tripped up by Sean Elliott. He and Premier got tangled up. And the foul is on Elliott. Mel Proctor with Mike Fratello, the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks, and Bob Knight, coach of the University of Indiana, and the coach of the 1984 Olympic team, which won the gold medal. Where did winning the gold fit in as far as your accomplishments and your thrills in basketball?
Well, it wasn't any kind of an individual thing. It was just something that I was really tremendously pleased to see happen because of all that went into it with the efforts of all the people, the players, the other coaches, Bill Wall and his staff, and everything worked out so well for us that it's just been a tragedy for it to have ended any other way.
Walter Magnifico scoring for Italy to cut the U.S. lead to 16. Cycli, Ronnie Cycli, and David Robertson.
What kind of decision do you think Amaker makes? I think he makes really great decisions when he's got the ball.
That was a concern. We mentioned in one of the earlier games that the U.S. guards were making poor decisions on a particular evening, and Tommy Amaker tonight has made fine, outstanding decisions for the most part.
He really, I think, has given them something at both ends of the court that holds them together. A moment ago, Robinson let somebody drive in on him and score a basket, and as they came back down the floor, Tommy patted him on the fanny and made a little motion like it. And I think that kind of thing will grow with these kids during the next week as they go to Madrid.
The United States now has on the floor the two big men, Cycli and Robinson, playing together. They've given the United States an outstanding 1-2 punch at center, Cycli and Robinson.
I think with Cycli playing inside and Robinson playing around the high post would be the best way that they can use them.
Brunamante scores for Italy. The U.S. leads 61-45. Robinson underneath to Elliott. And it's off from there of Italy.
You've seen a few more games than I have, Mike, and it's my understanding that we've had a little bit of a problem with the lead. Have we gotten to a point in a couple of games where we could really knock somebody out of the box and then not been able to do it?
What happened last night, and once again now, this last little stretch, our offense seems to become disoriented. We lose our spacing. We lose our floor balance. We become a very compact offensive unit with nowhere to go.
And it seems that when the United States needs to pick up the tempo, they bring in Tyrone Bogues, and he's at the scores table and be in shortly. They've been most effective running when he's been in a game.
Well, but I also think that they're changing people for experience and for a lot of other things too. I think that
great block by David Robinson, and Premier commits the foul for Italy. And so Bogues and Steve Kerr come in. Derek McKee also returns to the United States. And with 11:30 remaining in the game, the United States leads Italy 61-45. So the U.S. has McKee, Cycli, Robinson up front with Kerr and Bogues in the backcourt. What do you think of Tyrone Bogues? He's fun to watch.
Well, I think there are a lot of things that he can do, and also I think that his size limits him in some things. And he's got to play to his strengths and stay away from his weaknesses, which is what basketball is all about. Right now would be a great morale booster for our kids to take this thing from 16 up to over 20.
Steve Kerr into Robinson. Strong move to the basket by David Robinson, who has 10 points.
That's the first time we've seen him use that move in these 5 games in Malaga, and I think it's because he's feeling more comfortable now, asserting himself more.
Mike, I think, too, that Robinson playing at the Service Academy has not been playing with the kind of players that he's playing against here. And I think he might be, personally, a bit of a shy kid that might be a little bit awed by all these kids and their reputations. And it might take him a little while to say, hey, I'm as good or maybe better than almost anybody out here, and I've got to take charge of things.
Foul is on Steve Kerr. That's a 17th foul. Rejection by McKee. Here comes Tyrone Bogues. Steve Kerr.
Boy, it's good to see Kerr knock one down. He's really struggled the last 2 games.
The United States leads by 20 with 10:39 remaining as Bogues applies the pressure to Brunamante. Riva throws it back out. 3-pointer by Brunamante. Do you like the 3-point rule, Bob?
Well, I don't know. The thing that I don't like about the 3-point rule is Kerr has gotten a little bit of a turned ankle here coming out.
Kenny Smith replaces it.
The thing that I don't like about the 3-point play is, as far as American college play is concerned, it doesn't treat everybody the same. Not everybody has good shooters, and those that do like the rule and those that don't like it. But in the pros or in international play, everybody should be able to shoot the ball well enough to use it.
Sean Elliott off the dribble, and he got fouled by Roberto Premier, who seems to agree with the call. These Italians certainly show their emotions on the court, don't they?
They've just, when they came to Los Angeles in '84, they had talked a lot about being able to win the gold medal, and they just weren't quick enough to play. And this Italian team isn't any quicker than the team that I saw play then.
And a
foul is called on Premier, who likes to mix it up.
I think we'll see here on the replay we get a good acting job by Premier. Strong move by McKee. Gives us a good routine.
So Premier is charged with his 4th foul. He has more fouls than points in the game. And Derek McKee will go to the free throw line. McKee from the University of Alabama. Valerio Bianchini, the first-year head coach of the Italian team. Who else do you like of the teams you've seen in the tournament?
The Yugoslavia can run and I think shoot the ball real well. The Canadians are going to be very tough, minded. I think they'll play well because of that. Brazil has never played any defense, but they beat Spain by 14 tonight. So they must be a little bit better defensively. They've always just sat back in a 2-3 zone without putting any pressure on anything. So I think you've got the Yugoslavians, the Canadians, the Spanish, the Americans. I really don't think the Italian team is going to be a factor in the Final Four teams.
The United States leads 66-48 with 9:50 left. Bogues again pressuring Brutamonte. It kept the heat on the Italian guards tonight. Premier on the feed to Costa. Shot clock down to 7 seconds. 3-pointer. David Robinson with a rebound. Mel Proctor along with Mike Fratello and Bob Knight.
I think we've really got to do exactly that. Get it down in open court and take the ball to the bucket. Our kids are agile. They've got good flexibility going into the hoop with the ball. I think that's the thing that these are taking advantage of more and more as we see these next 3 games.
Robinson with a rejection. He's been a tower of strength on defense tonight. Kenny serves.
What we saw at the other end was the Italian team trying to post up Tyrone Bogues with Brutamonte. Very similar to what we faced with Spud Webb, and Dave Robinson covered for his little man. Well, Mike, I can remember back when I was a kid watching pro basketball with teams trying to post Bob Cousy. Dick Garmaker, a guard with the Knicks, would try to post him. That's ever worked very well. I think it's been one of the most overrated things in basketball, trying to post up a guard. You have to do that. If it's a part of your normal offense, fine.
The United States beginning to pull away again as Kenny Smith scores to put the U.S. ahead, 72-48.
We've made a 9-point move here from where we were, from 15 to 24, and hope.
Here in Spain.
They really don't understand a lot about basketball. They don't understand it like our people do. So those things that are most prominent in the game are those things that they can best relate to.
And the fans of Monaco on their feet, applauding the United States team as they lead 72-48 with 8:17 left. Leading by 24 points with 8:17 remaining. Mel Proctor along with Mike Fratello, the coach of the Atlanta Hawks, and Bob Knight, the head coach in Indiana, formerly the Olympic coach in 1984. Hey, and there's our pal, Hectori, a local man. He's of Italian descent. He lives here in Malaga. He's a big businessman, runs a local restaurant. He took us out. I treated us to a great time last night.
I thought it was Mike's uncle. Hey, listen, it's the finest Italian restaurant here in Malaga.
Big drum, and he sits in the Italian section and bangs that drum during the game. He hasn't banged it too often tonight, though.
This was a great run that the United States kids have just made here. They've got a chance to, they lost a 22-point lead to 15, and now they've got a chance to go from 15 to 25 ahead if they can knock this free throw down. I think this is the kind of spurt in a game that really shows kids, hey, we just knuckle down, we get a little bit more intense, and we can really handle these people. It's exactly what they've done here in the last 3 minutes.
Sean Elliott makes 1 out of 2, and the U.S. leads by 25. This is their biggest lead in the game. The U.S. team seems to be getting better with each game, and a steal by Elliott. Bogues in the open court like a water bug. Have you ever recruited a 5'3" player, Bob?
No, but we're recruiting a 5'7" guard right now.
And we've got a foul.
We've got a little guard from Chicago that we're going to bring in that's 5'7". It'll be kind of unique for us.
I think most guys 5'7" probably pretty good guards.
You would. I can see just off the top of my head where you would have a great affinity and a great. If I were a little kid, you're a guy that I don't think I would hesitate playing for.
Oh, we identify with each other.
Bob, if you played against Mike, would you post him up?
No, I've known him since he was a little kid himself, for Pete's sake. See, he forgets how long I've known him and in what stages of his life I've known him.
He's right. There were some stages back then.
Derek McKee makes 2 free throws. The U.S. leads by 27, the biggest lead of the game.
I remember when he was afraid to say hello to me. That's how far back I can remember him.
That was respect, total respect.
Well, you're a lot older than he is, Bob.
That's right, a lot older than a lot of guys.
7:35 left in the game. Robinson wanted to block that shot, decides to get it up through the net. The basket counts. Villalta scoring for Italy.
One of the things to throw in here that I've seen in international play, and particularly with the Europeans.
Robinson.
The Italians beat the Puerto Ricans easily. The United States has a tough time with the Puerto Ricans. European teams have an unbelievably difficult time of playing each game as it comes along. They think a lot in terms of playing on the road, away from home, or they think in terms of the scores of other games. And I know that had a big effect on the Italians tonight, and I think the Americans have come out just the opposite. That affects our kids also in the pros and high school and college, but nowhere like it affects the Europeans. They play almost totally on what the other guy is doing.
Sandro Dell'Agnello scoring for the Italian team at 77-52 in favor of the U.S. with 6:40 left. Kenny Smith with a no-look pass. Robinson having a big second half. Kenny Smith, three-pointer. He had 3 of them last night. 20 points for Smith. U.S. by 28, their biggest lead tonight.
In the first half, when the Italians made their run and scored those 9 straight points to cut it down to a respectable margin, they had Benelli on the floor. It's interesting, he hasn't come back with them other than to start the half, removed them. He hasn't been back in since.
6 minutes left in the game. The United States with a 28-point lead. Tyrone Bogues to Robinson has begun to open it up in the last 3 games. Sean Elliott on the miss. Bertamonte pushing the ball up the floor for the Italians. Mel Proctor with Mike Fratello and Bob Knight. Hope you're enjoying the action from Malaga, Spain. Dell'Agnello with a missed shot. Another fast break opportunity. Kenny Smith off to Bogues. Elliott is open.
Right from the beginning, the U.S. team has really done a good job on the boards tonight. Puerto Rico hurt us, I thought, quite a bit on their offensive board last night, and we've taken the board almost totally away from the Italians.
What are the major adjustments that American college players have to make in going to the international game?
See, I don't think there are any. I think you just say the floor is the same dimension, the bucket's the same height, let's go play. Let's play harder than they do, let's be quicker than they are. It's going to be a fairly physical kind of game. They put a lot of hands on people defensively. But I think the more you talk about adjustments and differences, the more difficult you make it for the kids.
What about adjusting to the rules of taking the ball out of bounds immediately?
You know, the 2 teams that I've had, I've never even talked to them about the rules. On the out-of-bounds situation, I've said, get it into the guard if you can.
The shot clock winding down. Bogues had to force his shot.
If the guard throws it into a big man, get it right back to the guard and get it up as quick as you can.
Ronnie Cycli and Charles Smith are back in for the U.S. as we watch the missed shot by Bogues. He just missed it. He had to take the shot with a 30-second clock down to 1 second. 4:41 left. The United States leading 80-54.
But that inbounds rule is a little bit of a fallacy, too, because if you'll notice, the foreign teams, the European teams here, will always throw the ball to the official. They'll wrestle around with the ball, and there just aren't that many times everything goes just right to get the ball in play and get it quickly up the floor. There's as much time wasted with that rule as there is, at least, with the rule we have where the official must handle the ball.
What about in terms of coaching for particularly late in the game. We saw a situation last night where the U.S. had the ball in a one-point lead. Kenny Smith took a couple of shots that he couldn't have or shouldn't have and almost cost the team the game, and he said it was because he couldn't see the scoreboard. If he had a timeout, you could tell him the situation.
Well, but yet you've got to be aware of that. I don't care where the scoreboard is. You know, like the first shot was taken with 24 seconds to play, and we had the ball all the way until 5 seconds to go. And that's something that I'm sure Kenny will never make a mistake at again. It could have been a very, very costly mistake, but it wasn't, and he just has to be aware of that time.
Bobby, how do you like the three-point situation here, okay, along with the new adjustment of intentional fouls? And when I say three-point, I mean the philosophy the European teams employ. Run the fast break, spot up behind the three, as opposed to fill the wings and take it to the basket.
They'll all do that, Mike. You're going to see that, and wait till you see the Russians play. The Russians think that the three-point play is a major part of their offense.
Ronnie Sankley scoring to make it 82-55 in favor of the U.S. as we wind this one down with 4 minutes left.
We've talked quite a bit about this new intentional foul rule they have now of awarding the free throws plus giving the ball back to the team on the side out of bounds. Very critical in a key time of the game.
That makes it an extremely big foul. That's about as big a foul as you can commit, giving a team the opportunity to score plus possession.
82-57, the United States, 3:40 remaining.
Hey, Mike, what would you have done last night if you'd have been Puerto Rico? You got 24 seconds to play, you're 1 point down, and you've been fouled. Would you have shot the free throws or taken out of bounds?
I would have called Dominique Wilkins over and asked him what he wanted to do.
You don't have Dominique Wilkins. You got whoever they got.
Well, if you're fouled and you're down one, I'd put my man on the line to make the free throws.
I'd have taken the ball out of bounds and worked to get the last shot, taken it to the bucket. Saying we got to have a chance to win. We're going to come up with a chance, and that way we don't give the ball back to the United States. I thought that at the time, and maybe, you know, it's an interesting question. I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong or you're right or wrong, but I think it's just a way to point out that here you and I are both coaching. Each of us would approach that a different way, and I think in all things that coaches do, very rarely will there be similarities going through all that two coaches do.
We should point out what we're talking about is the option in international play in a two-shot foul situation. You have the option of taking the ball out of bounds.
So what you're saying is you'd go for the whole ball of wax on the last shot of the game if you're the Puerto Rican team.
With about 8 seconds to play, so you had a chance to get the bucket, the free throw, or the rebound.
And I'd like to give our team a chance to go up and have the lead going down the stretch.
You two guys can arm wrestle and settle this after the game, all right?
No, it's just both points of view would be valid because that's what Mike's team would believe in, and the other is what my team would believe in. And all, as I said, coaches differ so much, and I think it's always interesting to ask two different coaches the same question on something like that and just see what each would have as a gut reaction to it.
There's our score. The U.S. leading by 25 with 3 minutes left in the game. Tyrone Bogues, who rarely looks for a shot, he'll take one.
U.S. showing a little two-man action. A little screen outside for the guard. Makes a nice move.
Good effort on the offensive boards by Sandro Dell'Agnello at 6 points for Italy.
The first time out of the second half, the Italians were talking about what they were going to get to eat tonight because they knew then that was going to be the best part of the evening for them. They really haven't had a great interest in the game since then.
2:30 left in the game. The U.S. had a blowout tonight. They led 40-25 at halftime. These fans really love Tyrone Bogues, don't they? Armin Gilliam coming back in for the United States. And we've got a timeout with 2:19 remaining. The United States leads Italy 84-59.
Well, the USA men's team seems to be doing just what the women's team did in the Goodwill games here. The men's team in Spain has been playing a little better each game, getting to know each other, getting smoother tonight. Certainly their best performance both ends of the floor. The team you're watching them play, the Italians, are a very good basketball team. They were undefeated going into this basketball game. We also hope you're enjoying the comments of Bobby Knight and Mike Fratello, two great coaches who just are very interesting to listen to. I had to love Bobby Knight's comment about the Italians are talking in that timeout about what they're going to eat for dinner tonight because that'll be the best part of their day, which I think is probably true. We're going to go back to the game. I want to remind you, right after the game ends, we have a lot more coming your way here from Moscow. We'll be covering rhythmic gymnastics, water polo, cycling, and a whole lot more. So you stay with us as we continue our coverage. Now, back to Malaga, Spain.
With just over 2 minutes remaining in the game, Italy has the ball. This one has been decided long ago. The United States with a 25-point lead. Ronnie Cycling here's it on to Tyrone Boats. Mel Proctor along with Mike Fratello and Bob Knight bring you the action, and it'll be the United States ball. Coach and I started to mention these fans really respond to Tyrone Bogues. He's getting a lot of ink in the papers. He may be the most popular player in the championship.
Well, I think in a big man's game, it's only natural that most people are average size watching all these big kids play. And in that kind of a game, they're always going to be just a little bit more interested in the little guy that's out there.
Foul called on Tom Hammond of the United States. And we get a substitution for the U.S. Number 13, Brian Shaw is in. His first appearance. He replaced Dave Butler, who had an injury, had a strained arch, and Shaw, who played at the University of California at Santa Barbara, has come in now. His coach, Jerry Pym, is an assistant coach on the U.S. team. Sandro Dell'Agnello at the free throw line for Italy with 1:45 remaining.
Shaw was golden on the U.S. team, and the foot injury to Butler was a concern all along for the U.S. coaches. He tried to hang in it. They thought there was a chance he might be able to play 1 out of every 3 games. He re-injured it again in practice the other day. They sent him home, and now Brian Shaw has been basically activated on
84-61.
Just think this is a great shot in the arm for the United States team to be able to come through their final round game against the opponent that everyone figured would be their toughest competition in the first series of games, and play as well as they have here tonight. Not the margin of victory, but just how well they played at both ends of the court.
1:25 left in the game. The Yugoslavia won, beating Canada tonight 87-80, so they are the number 1 seed in Group D. China beat West Germany 81-80 here in a thriller earlier tonight. So the United States will be seeded number 1, Italy number 2, and China 3 in Group C. So to beat Spain 86-72. And the Soviets beat Australia 122-92 tonight. We're approaching 1 minute. The United States leading by 23. Oh, the Soviet team, as I recall, played against your Indiana team a few years ago when they toured the U.S.
We've played the Russians, I think, 7 different times and maybe beaten them 3 times. Lost to them 4 times, I think.
Tyrone Bogues scores the United States. They lead 86-61. 37 seconds left.
See, this is the kind of defense the Europeans like to play against the zone. They can move the ball around. They can get shooters into position to take the shot. There isn't nearly the pressure on the passing or the ball movement as there is with man-to-man defense. And I think as long as we can maintain pressure on the ball and pressure on the passing lane, it really becomes a great advantage to us because they just simply don't like to play against that kind of basketball. They want to beat you 120 to 110. They don't want to get in a game where they only score 60-some points.
Foul is on Brian Shaw of the United States. And at the free throw line is Luigi Marzorati of Italy.
Bobby, tell us a little bit about Arvydas Sabonis, who we've heard so much about here, the great center for the national team in Russia. I think Sabonis may be as good a prospect to play basketball as there is anywhere in the world. American college play or NBA plays. He's got a great body, 7'1" or 2", 240 pounds. He's quick, he runs, he can shoot the ball. But I think he's probably just blown his ego completely out of any kind of context right now relative to what the Russians have done and the success that they've had. It was a team, the Russian team, that I honestly felt in Los Angeles that we would have beaten as easily as we beat the Spanish or anybody else. Spain has beaten the Russians about 6 or 7 times in the last 4 years and has lost about that many times also.
Dell'Agnello on a breakaway as we come to the end of this game. Final seconds, the United States would improve its record to 5-0, remaining undefeated as they have defeated the team from Italy 86-64. So the U.S. finishes the first round as the top seed in Group C. And we've seen some great basketball here in Malaga. Bob Knight, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed being with
about 4 years. All right, good to see you again. Two coaches shaking hands, Ruud Olsen and Valerio Bianchini, and the United States has defeated Italy 86-64.
Portions of the 1986 Goodwill Games are brought to you by AFTA Aftershave Skin Conditioner. It soothes, razor-scraped sensitive skin. Sensible care for sensitive skin. AFTA by Menon.
If there's any one person who embodies the spirit of the Goodwill Games, it would be the late Samantha Smith, a young Manchester schoolgirl who traveled from the United States to the Soviet Union in the name of furthering world peace and then tragically died in an airplane crash with her father upon returning to the United States. Well, Samantha Smith's name lives on, and in cooperation with the Goodwill Games, the Samantha Smith Foundation sponsored a poster contest called In the Spirit of Goodwill. The winners are here watching the Goodwill Games, and earlier they talked with Marianne Laughlin.
I'm here with the two American winners of the Samantha Smith poster competition, a competition that went on all over the world, inspired by, of course, the Samantha Smith Foundation in cooperation with Turner Broadcasting. On my left, Val Matali, who is from the Royal Elementary School in Honolulu, Hawaii. He's 11 years old. He is a winner. Congratulations. Thanks. And Rusty Thrower, who is from Bedford Junior High School in Hurst, Texas, 14 years old. Congratulations to both of you. How did you first get interested in this contest?
Well, it was introduced to us at school through our art teachers, and it also, through the brochure, it says that social studies teachers were going to be offering the contest also. And what they did is my teacher opened it to anyone who wanted to enter it, and she asked me if I was interested, and I said that I would be, so I entered.
Okay, and you won. Val, were you surprised when you were declared a winner?
Well, I was really surprised. Dream come true to come here.
It's a long way from home, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's take a look at the winning posters now. Val, let's start with yours. It's called Graduation. If we can put that up on the monitor, you can tell us about it and how you got the idea for it.
Okay.
Here it is.
Well, I had the idea because I thought graduation is the most important thing, is to graduate from school, so because I want to graduate too.
Rusty, let's take a look at your picture. This one is entitled Together in Goodwill. And that's a very impressive piece of work.
Thanks.
What does it mean to you?
Well, what I tried to symbolize is how the American and the Soviets can become unite or come together more during the Goodwill Games, and how that I symbolized by crossing the guns in the corner that we should forget war and worry more about becoming friends than anything else.
Have you made any friends since you've been in Moscow?
Yes, I've made quite a few.
Yeah? What do you think of Moscow? Strange city? Different city? Fun?
Well, it's a fun city.
What's the most fun thing you've done?
Well, the fun thing I've done is going to the cities, going to Red Square, and all those places. It's really near.
Yeah? Did you all find that people were friendly to you and there was the spirit of goodwill?
Yeah. It's, the thing is, it's a lot. It's so much like I thought it would be, but yet in some ways it's so much differently. Because I mean, I thought that they'd be a whole lot more strict than they are, and I mean, it's just like America, except they tend to tell you what to do a little more.
They're a little bit more.
A little strict?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. But then they're wonderful here.
Yeah, I've had a really good time since I've been here.
Chance of a lifetime. I'm so glad you two were able to come. Congratulations,
Thanks.
Rusty. Congratulations, Val. Our two winners from America in the Samantha Smith poster contest.
Some intense competition in cycling at the beautiful Olympic velodrome at Krylatskoye. We're going to be going there after this commercial. Stay with us. One of the most interesting competitors in the cycling representing the United States of America is a man who's nicknamed the Cheetah, Nelson Vales. He has 32-inch thighs developed for his power cycling. He was a former messenger in Manhattan, riding a bike when he got the idea to go into cycling as a sport. He's now moved to California to continue his training, and he's a very interesting young man indeed. Here's our Goodwill profile.
Olympic silver medal has changed my life a great deal. I left Colorado Springs, the Olympic Training Center, to move here to California for my winter months. I didn't really want to spend any more winters at 0 degrees weather trying to train on my bicycle. I live in Surfside. That's a little colony of houses on the beach in Sunset Beach. The bike path is right outside my front door for all my training facilities, and miles and miles of flat road for me to train and sprint on. Being born and raised in Harlem, New York City, racing in Central Park, I was approached by a local bike shop owner that had a pretty good racing team. I entered a few state championship events and became a district state champion and went on to national competition. In my sport, the match sprints, it's a 1,000-meter tactical event, and I would say it's a good 60% mental and 40% physical. And it's a fast game of chess. That's the best way I can explain it.
Okay, Nelson, just place your arms in front of you like this and bring your arms straight up over your head, high as you can, all the way up.
I was involved in a cycling accident. Came in training with my partner, Les Barczewski, and I. We were training on a tandem, and we blew a front tire, and we had enough time to go, oh, God.
And rotate him, and now hold him up real strong, and don't let me push him down. Nelson suffered the injury to his rotator cuff in the fall. Special strengthening exercises were done to strengthen the rotator cuff muscle that wasn't damaged to compensate for the injury. It progresses then to some special weightlifting exercises to strengthen the rotator cuff muscles, and then back to his old weightlifting program to make him not just as strong as us, but even stronger.
I spend at least 2 hours in the gym, and I'm trying to continue in my mileage of riding my bike every day. On and off the track, I'm two different people. When I'm involved in competition, it's a good 3 minutes of serious hard work. And off the track, I'm a pretty fun guy, and I like the outgoing life, and I can't function without a nightlife or without the company. I'm only 25 years old right now, and I'm just starting to go out on my own and learning. And this living alone and training alone is a good experience of, it's like baking a cake just right.
This is the second heat between Nelson Vales of the United States and Michael Hubner of East Germany. As the men's sprints quarterfinals continue, Hubner won the first heat, a time of 10:36. Jonathan, quite simply, it is do or die time for Nelson Vales.
It certainly is. Nelson has to beat Hubner on tactics. Hubner just broke the 200-meter world record, and he is fast. Nelson's got to get him on tactics. Here they come into the 200-meter mark. Hubner's behind him. He's coming around.
Nelson Vales, here we go, down to the line. Nelson Vales leading Hubner. Vales and Hubner. Now it's Hubner and Vales, and Hubner will win it, and he will advance to the semifinals with 2 straight victories over Nelson Vales of the United States. Time 10:77. Michael Hubner of East Germany and E10 Motor.
Hubner, 10,772 тысячных, последние 200 метров.
This is the second heat for Scott Berriman of the United States and Luz Hetzlich, the world champion. Hetzlich blew by Berriman in the first heat to win it with a time of 10:4.82. And as was the case for Nelson Vales, the same situation presents itself now for Scott Berriman. He must win to take this to a third heat.
Now, Scott Berriman was in back, and Luz Hetzlich did coax him out in front. He is at a slight disadvantage. Not only is he in front, but Hetzlich is fast. He is fast. He is deadly fast.
He is, as I mentioned, the world champion. He is wearing the jersey of the world champion, and Scott Berriman has got his work cut out for him. Keep your eye on Hetzlich. He is like lightning
Here
on
he
the
comes.
track.
Hetzlich coming around the second to the last turn. Berriman holding him off. No.
Berriman's still out in front, but watch Hetzlich. He's just got too much power, too much speed. He takes Scott Berriman. That is it for Scott Berriman as Lutz Hetzlich of East Germany advances with 2 consecutive wins over American Scott Berriman. This is the second heat. Gary Nywand of Australia, Nikolai Kovish of the Soviet Union, as you see him out on the track there. Nywand won the first heat. Kovish needs to win this, and there goes Gary Nywand. Australian Gary Naiwan just made a brave move with a little over a lap and a half to go. He is out in front of Nikolai Kovish of the Soviet Union. This is no 200-meter sprint, Jonathan. This is more like a 600-meter sprint for Naiwan.
He went for a lap and a half. He just blasted right by the Russian and kept going.
Now we'll see if he's got enough left to hold him off. It looks like he will. It's Gary Naiwan of Australia cruising to the finish line. You see him gesturing. He's pumped up. 2 straight wins for Naiwan over Nikolai Kovish. Naiwan of Australia advances to the semifinals.
И второй тур выиграл Гарри Нейвер, Австралия. 12:40 последние 200.
Now, last night, Mark Gorski received a couple of warnings of disqualification in his heat and had to come back into the quarterfinal competition via repechage. However, today, when he looked at the seedings and found out that he would be facing the world champion, Lutz Heschlich, he explained that the Americans would lodge a protest. He was not, in fact, supposed to race against him, and he told Jonathan Boyer about it earlier.
You were slated to ride against Heschlich.
Right.
Are you still going to be
No, I won't be riding. I shouldn't be riding against them. If they put me with them, I mean, it's going to be definitely a hometown decision to do that, because I should be riding against in the third heat against the Russian Nikolai Kovish, and I'm definitely going to protest the decision if they have me ride, and then it'll be the judge's decision from there. But it's not correct the way they have it set up now for me to ride against Heschlich, and I don't think it would be the best racing format. I don't think it would be the strongest riders meeting in the final if it does go that way.
That's true. Well, we hope you the best this evening, and we'll be with you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
There on the far side of the velodrome is American Mark Gorski. This is not a victory lap. He is running his heat unopposed. Actually, Jonathan, I guess you could say it's a victory lap. His opponent was supposed to be the Soviet, Otar Mehedlishvili. However, last night in that collision with Gorski, Mehedlishvili suffered a broken left wrist. The doctors advised him not to compete. So Mark Gorski is just taking a little evening cruise solo this evening. He will advance to the semifinals. Out on the track right now, Suyin Zhu of China in the white, in red, Natalia Krushelnitskaya of the Soviet Union. This is the second heat for the bronze medal in women's sprints. The first heat was won by Natalia Krushelnitskaya.
Now, the first heat, Suyin Zhu took off very early in the race and led for about a lap and a half before she was passed at the end by Natalia.
So it looks like the change in strategy is in order for Zhu right here.
I think so. I think she doesn't want to lead in. She's fast, but if she's going to beat this Soviet rider, she's got to be very tactical right here at the end. Last lap. Here we go.
Suyin Zhu on the lower side of the bank now. Natalia Krushelnitskaya.
Natalia closing in. Suyin Zhu already starting out. Coming in to that last turn. Natalia looks like she's going to go right by him. Is she?
Here they come. It's Suyin Zhu on the inside now. Natalia Krushelnitskaya. Zhu and Krushelnitskaya. Krushelnitskaya in Zhu. So Natalia Krushelnitskaya has won 2 straight heats, and that will be good for the bronze medal in the women's sprint at the Goodwill Games. Still to come, the duel for the gold medal between Galina Sarova and Erika Solomyai, both of the Soviet Union. That first heat was won by Galina Sarova. You're watching the strategy of Erika Solomyai and Galina Sarova of the Soviet Union. In the women's sprints, the battle for the gold medal, that is Galina Sarova out in front of Erika Solomyai, and what a story this has been for Sarova. In the semifinals, it had appeared that she had lost 2 straight heats to Suyin Zhu of China, but Zhu was disqualified in the second heat. The win went to Sarova. She came back to take the third heat, which put her in this battle against Solomyai for the gold medal. They have split 2 heats, Sarova taking the first, Solomyai the second. This one's for all the marbles, Jonathan.
It certainly is. Ooh, she almost fell. She hit the top banking, had to come down. There goes
Solomyai. Solomyai took advantage of that miscalculation by Sarova. They're in the bell lap, and Solomyai is out in front of Galina Sarova.
She's got a big lead. She's going to take it all the way in, it looks like. Galina trying to catch.
She can fly. She holds the world record in the 200-meter flying start. Rika Salumya of the Soviet Union sprinting toward the finish line. She will win it handily over Galina Sarova. So, Rika Salumya of the Soviet Union wins the gold medal. One of our Goodwill ambassadors, also a Soviet, Galina Sarova, takes the silver, and Natalia Krushelnitskaya of the Soviet Union wins the bronze. So to quickly recap the gold medal lineup here this evening at the Olympic Velodrome. In women's individual pursuits, Barbara Gantz of Switzerland took the gold. Mindy Mayfield of the USA took the silver. In the women's sprints, it was Rika Salumya of the Soviet Union winning the event, while in the team pursuit, the powerful Soviet team again took a gold medal. That's it for now. Do join Jonathan Boyer and me, Kevin Christopher, tomorrow when we bring you the men's sprints finals and a lot more from the Olympic Velodrome at Krylakskaya.
Tomorrow we'll continue our coverage of cycling. It'll be the finals in individual sprint competition from the Olympic Velodrome. And Marianne, we go from a sport of speed and strength to a sport of strength and beauty.
Bob Neal's new favorite sport.
It certainly is.
Rhythmic gymnastics. We're going to rejoin now Leander Riley and Kathy Johnson at the Olympic Sports Complex for more of this beautiful sport. Here it is.
Preliminary result.
We are now on our next rotation. We have concluded our coverage of the rope and have moved now to the ball apparatus. And you are looking at Bulgaria's Svetomira Filipova.
Filipova is a very beautiful gymnast. She has such an exotic look. And the audience here loves her.
She reminds me of a ballet dancer.
She really has a feel for the music.
5'6½", 104 pounds, very tall, almost too thin.
She uses it to her advantage, the long legs and long arms. She has a great turning ability. All her turns are performed high on the toe. Beautiful catch in a back scale, showing that flexibility. She has wonderful expression. There's a double roll during the toss and catches on the floor.
And has to take her eye off the ball to execute those rolls. A very difficult combination by Svetomira Filipova. Her preliminary score was 9.85. She'll try to improve on that with this performance.
Look at this back scale.
And she receives a 9.95 and a 180-degree split there to conclude that performance. Her total is 19.80. And now we are ready for a gymnast from the Soviet Union, Galina Beloglazova. Her preliminary score, you can see, is a 10, so we're in for a real treat. Beloglazova is 19 years old. She, too, is 5 feet 6 inches tall and began this sport at age 7. And in our all-around coverage yesterday, you saw her finish third in the standings.
She is also a crowd favorite here. She's a very pretty gymnast. Mature gymnast, and that really shows in her performance. Beautiful turn to scale. Side roll. Leap into a roll and catches on the floor. Anytime you catch the equipment while on the floor, it's a superior difficult move.
She is truly as one with the ball. It's almost like it's part of her.
This is her strength. The ball seems so magnetic. Beautiful routine.
Galina Beloglazova. Now this part I thought was particularly beautiful.
It's as if the ball is glued to her body.
She has the innate ability to strike beautiful poses throughout this routine. Everything she does is beautiful. Remember, her preliminary score was 10. Today she receives another 10 to give her a combined total of 20. She is our leader, which puts the pressure on Tatiana Druchinina, the all-around champion, who also has a preliminary score of 10. She'll need another to get a gold.
Druchinina is definitely an all-around performer. All of her events are excellent. But this event in particular, it's her most theatrical of all. That was a pre-acrobatic element. The gymnast is allowed to perform 3 of those in the routine. If she does more than 3, it's a deduction of 5/10. Now, pre-acrobatic skill is one that does not pass through the vertical, as you see in artistic gymnastics.
Why do they not want the gymnast to tumble and do the full twists and the round up flip-flops and things like that?
Because this is a completely different sport than artistic, and they don't want it going in that direction. They want to emphasize use with the apparatus, beauty and elegance, and not the tricks. Another high toss. It's so tempting to watch the apparatus go up in the air, but the true difficulty is what the gymnast does as the ball is up in the air. Look how expressive she is. It's as though she's telling a story. Look at this position.
An excellent routine by Tatiana Druchinina. She brought in a preliminary score of 10 and receives yet another 10 to give her a perfect total of 20. So we have a 2-way tie for first, with Filipova taking third.
We'll return with more Turner Network Television Goodwill Games coverage after this from our local stations.
The halfway point in our competition, concluding the ball and the rope. But now it is time to introduce you to the ribbon and the clubs. And I think the ribbon is probably the apparatus or implement that most people in America are familiar with, and that we've all taken maybe a bathrobe belt and twirled it around and tried to make it do snakes.
This is definitely a crowd pleaser, and the audience really gets into this. It is a very dramatic event, as you can see here, except the gymnasts are much more adept at it than I am.
An interesting thing about the ribbon is that it is 7 feet 8 inches long, and trying to keep that tail off the ground, you have to be very strong in the arms. But right now, you've got the most dangerous implement in your hand.
Well, I feel it's the most dangerous. And also, of all the events, this takes the most hand-eye coordination, because there are 2 implements in which they must keep in control, keep them away from their heads, because they're not that soft.
I think if I were to study the clubs, I'd be wearing a football helmet.
Exactly.
We now have for you a young lady from East Germany, Esther Nicholas, who does a very clever routine. Now, we saw her in the preliminaries. You saw her preliminary score last night, 9.8. She's going to do the same routine again, and I love this leotard with the little black bow tie.
I really did, too. I enjoyed this last night as well. She has great expression in this routine. Really has a feel for the music.
Putting on the Ritz.
This routine doesn't have as much difficulty as some of the other routines, but it really makes up for it in choreography.
It truly shows that you can have fun in this sport.
High toss.
In this particular event, I think if you're ambidextrous, it helps.
I think it's a prerequisite in this sport to be ambidextrous. It was a double side roll in the toss. Another superior element. Oh, cute routine.
Unfortunately, her preliminary score will probably keep her out of the medal count, but it was such a clever routine. The crowd loves it. Her preliminary score again was 9.8, and she receives for this performance a 9.85 to give her a 19.65 total. And now to a more serious note, USSR's Marina Lobach.
We're going to see a completely different side of this gymnast. This routine is very playful. Things with the clubs. Look at that. All of her tosses are superior difficulties. It's a toss caught underneath her leg.
Marina Lobach.
A nice routine with a lot of difficulty in there.
Her preliminary score was 10, and she receives another 10 to give her a combined total of 20 lead. And now it is time for our next competitor. She is from Bulgaria. Her name is Svetomira Filipova, who brings in a preliminary score of 9.85. She trains at Lievsky Sparta. Now, this is her second appearance in the individual event. We saw her in the ball competition earlier.
This routine is a very dramatic routine. She has a wide variety of different emotions and expressions that she shows. This is a very difficult routine. Watch the tosses. High in the air, catches on the floor in a back arch, and then picks up with the drama of the routine. They must keep the clubs moving at all times. She's meeting all of the requirements. Double roll, catching on the floor. Very nice routine.
A beautiful performance by 17-year-old Svetomira Filipova. Again, her preliminary score was 9.85. We'll add to that the 10 for a 19.85 total. So let's take a look at the final standings. A perfect score of 20 for Marina Lobach gives her the gold. Filipova will take the bronze.
These editions of the 1986 Goodwill Games have been brought to you by Snickers Bar. Packed with peanuts, Snickers really satisfies.
Well, we're introducing yet another new feature on the inaugural coverage of the 1986 Goodwill Games. This is our producer's idea. We don't want to claim any credit for it if you don't like it. If you do like it, it was my idea.
Yes.
And it's called Goodwill Games Highlights. It's a question.
Okay.
Question is, it seems like only yesterday that the games began, but yet we're already into day 6. And our question is, who won the first gold medal at the Goodwill Games? Here's a hint. She's from Americus, Georgia. They're throwing a parade for her on Monday. And she has to lean forward a little bit because she has 5 medals hanging around her neck. Angel Myers, she won 4 golds and a bronze. What a delightful young lady.
Quick funny story about Angel Myers from Americus, Georgia. She was asked by a Soviet reporter where she was from, and she said, Americus. He said, no, what city are you from? She said, Americus.
It's near Plains.
And it went on and on and on for a while there. I don't know if she ever got that across.
We have a little trouble with interpreting the languages sometimes. Angel Myers, the answer to our first Goodwill Games highlight. Get the viewer mail coming in and let us know what you think of that. We'll be back in just a moment.
Event is the ribbon competition. The only qualifier from the USA in the individual event finals is Diane Simpson from the USA. Her preliminary score was 9.7.
Diane did extremely well yesterday. In fact, we've made great strides to get an American in the finals.
To elaborate on that point, in the Eastern European countries, elementary school children play with these implements all the time. It is part of their physical education class. Not so in the USA. So it's a very specialized individual who goes after rhythmic gymnastics.
You're right. All the children start at about age 5 or 6. If they show really good talent toward it, they begin training.
Diane Simpson is 5 feet 5 inches tall. She is from Evanston, Illinois, and she's been a national team member for 2 years.
This is really a strong event for Diane. She's a very European style. With long lines, beautiful elegance. In fact, her coach is a former Russian coach. She's very young and energetic, took her group over to Bulgaria to train with the Bulgarians. I see a little bit of that Bulgarian style in there. Oh, that's going to cost her. That is a major deduction. 0.5 of a point.
That's unfortunate. She was flawless yesterday in that regard.
Oh, and it's right at the end of her routine. Oh, that's a shame.
An unfortunate mishap for Diane Simpson, who brought in a preliminary score of 9.7. The ribbon got tangled at the end of the baton, and as you said, Kathy, that is a major deduction. The best she can hope for is 9.5. And I'm sure they'll take off more than 0.5 of a point, and that they did. 9.4 for a total of 19.10.
10 points.
And now we'll move on to the Soviet Union's Tatiana Druchinina, the all-around champion in yesterday's coverage.
There's not much you can say about this gymnast, except that she's perfect, flawless.
She certainly is perfect. She has received nothing but 10s.
In all of her events, she chooses to do the most difficult elements, all of superior rating. Consecutive tosses, all of these are of superior difficulty.
She is actually forcing the sport to become more difficult, and they will have to revise their scoring tables upward to accommodate her.
Right now, it stands they have to have 2 superior moves in routine. She's got that and more. High toss, right into an illusion.
Let me guess what an illusion is. It's a walkover that really isn't a walkover.
Right. It's a very unique side turn. And a beautiful finish.
A A very dramatic performance by 17-year-old Tatiana Druchinina, who has received nothing short of 10 throughout this entire competition, throughout the all-around, throughout these individual event finals, and that trend continues. Another 10 for Druchinina. Our next competitor is from Bulgaria. Her name is Adriana Dunavska. She is 16 years of age, and she's considered an excellent four-event gymnast.
She has a very creative routine.
9.9.
Sort of a Spanish bullfighter style.
And she uses a guitar as accompaniment.
We heard horn last night and one accordion, and now we're hearing guitar. Piano is still the most commonly used piece. It's a double turn during the toss. Now remember, anytime you do two elements in a row during a toss, it is also superior rating. Shows all the required elements. Those are spirals with the ribbon. Toss with that illusion into a roll. Now, the Bulgarians have normally used a more classical style. In this competition, a lot of them have gone to a more modern style. It wasn't quite as accepted as they would have liked, I don't think. The scores were not as high as the Soviets. It was a double side roll in the toss. Actually, I like this routine.
A very clever performance by Bulgaria's Adriana Dunavska, bringing in a preliminary score of 9.9. They add a 9.95 to that to give her a 19.85 total. So in the standings, Druchinina and Lobach finish 1 and 2, with Dunavska taking third, tied with Dietrich of East Germany. For Kathy Johnson, I'm Leandra Riley. So long, everyone.
Well, that wraps up our prime time coverage of the Goodwill Games Day 6. Marianne Laughlin, it was a great day for basketball.
I hope none of our viewers missed the two big matches that we aired today. The U.S. women's team, of course, just trouncing the Soviet women's team, and the U.S. men's team also with kind of a blowout over Italy, moving towards a possible confrontation with the Soviets. We'll have to keep an eye on it.
A little bit further down the road in Spain. And speaking of U.S. and USSR confrontations, in 3 of our next 4 days of coverage, there will be confrontations between Soviet and American teams, particularly tomorrow, U.S. and the USSR in volleyball. Late night comes along shortly. Stay with us.